Let's say you want to practice your spoken English conversation skills with ChatGPT Advanced Voice Mode, or Sesame, or even better, a real person. But after the conversation starts, you begin to feel, I don't have anything to say. I can't think of anything to say. Well, that's a big problem. It's also a very common problem. We need to understand why it happens and what we can do about it. So first, why does it happen? Well, a few different reasons. One might be that you're not familiar with the topic. Now, a simple way to deal with that is, instead of thinking of things to say, focus on asking questions. That way you can learn more about the topic, or at least uncover things that you can talk about, things that you do know a bit more about. That can kind of come out naturally just by asking good questions. But that's not the biggest reason. The biggest reason is that you're simply not used to conversation situations like this. If you feel like you don't have anything to say, or you can't find anything in your mind in the moment, maybe, probably, it's because you don't feel comfortable and relaxed, because you're not used to this kind of situation. That's normal, right? When you're doing something new that you're not used to, you feel a little tense, not relaxed, and so it's hard to feel comfortable and find things to say. The answer, then, is to either give up or push yourself outside of your comfort zone. If you feel awkward having a conversation with ChatGPT, is that because it is awkward to have a conversation with ChatGPT? Well, I don't think so. I have a conversation with ChatGPT pretty much every day. I don't feel awkward at all. You feel that way. Why? Because you're not used to doing it. Do I need to explain why it's useful to have conversations with ChatGPT? Yes, it's not a real person, but a treadmill is not a real road. And yet we can still run on a treadmill and get the benefits of moving our legs quickly, right? Same thing goes for AI tools. You can still get a lot of benefits from having a conversation with AI, even though it's not a real conversation with a real person. Okay, so push yourself out of your comfort zone. One very simple thing we can do is set a clear goal or focus from the beginning for the whole conversation. We are going to debate destination weddings. We're going to talk about whether or not it's good for kids to have pets. We're going to practice this job interview for this specific role. Very focused. That helps keep things on track. You know kind of where you're going. That way it doesn't feel like a random conversation where you're just spinning your wheels and talking about nothing in particular. Once you have a clear goal for a conversation, maybe a specific topic or focus, before the conversation begins, write down a couple of bullet points with things that you could say in this conversation. Keep them very, very simple. Maybe just single words. That way, when you feel that feeling of being stuck, you can simply glance down and say, oh, I could say that. To remind yourself, give yourself a little hint to get you out of that stuck feeling. Do them in a way that makes sense to you. The basic idea here is that you're doing some of your thinking up front. As you get used to it and as you start to feel more comfortable, you won't need to make bullet points in advance. But if you're just starting to get used to having live conversations, it can be a great way to keep the conversation going. Now, if you're having a conversation with AI and you start to feel that you don't know what to say, remember, you're having a conversation with AI. So ask, hey, what could I say here? What would you say if you were me? This is sort of like breaking out of the conversation while staying in it at the same time. Hey, I'm a little lost here. What would you say if I had asked you this question? You can then say, oh yeah, good idea, and then say that thing and then just continue having the conversation. It's certainly okay to do that. In fact, I think that makes the conversation itself more interesting, more nuanced. So don't be afraid of that kind of thing. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask for help when you need it. Now, it's a bit different if you're having a conversation with a person. If you ask that question, what would you say if I asked you that question? That can cause some awkwardness. However, asking questions in general is a great way to move the conversation in a different direction, right? Or to turn the conversation around to get the other person to talk more. If I feel like I don't know what to say, if I can think of a good question, then I can get you to say things, right? And then I can start to think more about what I want to say. Or maybe push things in a slightly different direction until, hey, I have something to say about this topic, right? So if you get good at asking questions, you can handle almost any kind of situation, whether you're talking to an AI or a person. It can also be helpful to focus on real life situations. Sometimes talking about abstract topics, giving opinions on topics, can lead to that feeling of not knowing what to say. But if instead you're focused on, as I said, an interview, or maybe meeting new colleagues, right? Or getting feedback on a pitch, right? Real life things, then it's more familiar, right? It feels more natural. It's real. It's not just some topic to discuss. So maybe to start, focus on role plays around your daily life, things that you actually deal with on a day-to-day basis. And then, once you start to feel comfortable, move on to explaining more abstract things, or perhaps having debates about topics, things like that. So carefully decide what kinds of conversations you want to have. Start with what you're most comfortable with and gradually work your way out toward things that are a bit less familiar. Always remembering to push yourself to be just outside of your comfort zone. If you're too comfortable, you're probably not improving. If you're a little bit uncomfortable, that's good. If you have no idea what to say and you feel lost and confused, well, that's not good. So find that middle ground where you're challenged but not overwhelmed. Also, check out the 90-day program, the best way to improve your English in 90 days. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.